Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be reviewing the Cocinaire Krush portable battery operated ice cream maker. Is it worth your money? Let's find out. So you ready? Let's get into this. Just a quick note, our reviews are based upon the things that are important to us. That might be a little bit different for you, so what we recommend doing is after watching our video, you pull up a couple of other videos from other content creators just so you can get a wider range of opinions from different people. That way you can make a more informed buying decision, and that is the most important thing of all. This ice cream maker is made up of several components. First you have the outer plastic housing. Next you have your freezer bowl. This has got a liquid that's sealed inside the metal container here. And this needs to be left in your freezer for about 12 hours before you make your ice cream. That way it really hardens up that liquid that's in there and it ensures the best result. So this slides right into the housing, just like that. The next piece is a spacer, which goes in right there. And then the top piece is the actual paddle assembly along with the motor. And this just sits right on top, just like that. The way this works is really simple. You have your bowl down in here that's frozen, of course. You take your ingredients, pour them in there, set this on top, and then by pushing the button on top, we can go ahead and start this up. This will run its cycle and will automatically turn off whenever it's finished. And when that gets finished, you hopefully have some nice soft serve ice cream. When your ice cream gets finished, you can remove the motor, take out the spacer, and if you're storing this to eat later, you've got this handy lid that just screws right onto the top, just like so. And it's got a rubber seal on it to make sure you get a nice good connection. In addition to that, you've got this insulated carrying case that you can just set this right in here with. And you can zip that closed. And you can rest assured that everything in there will stay reasonably frozen for you until you get to where you're going. Unless, of course, that's really, really far away, in which case, not sure what's going to happen there. In addition to all your components, it comes with this cool little carrying case. See, pretty nice. Just about all your stuff will fit right in there. And right here it has Cocinaire embossed right into the container. For the most part, what this machine is a frozen bowl type ice cream maker, except it's much smaller, works off of a battery, and costs a whole lot more. The only stuff you can manipulate on this is the power button, obviously, and your charge port, which is right here, which is a USB-C type. For charging, it comes with a USB-C to a USB adapter cable. One end goes in there, and the other end here, you're gonna have to plug that into your USB port. This doesn't come with a plug to plug into your wall, nor does it come with an adapter to plug it into your wall. So if you wanna do that, you gotta go pick one up yourself, which I was a little bit disappointed with. That seems to be the trend now these days. Everything's coming with cables like this. Nobody's giving you the actual charging part, and everybody expects you just to plug it into a USB port someplace. I kind of hate that idea, and I think for the money that they charge for these things, they really should include those. Charging is pretty interesting too, because if you plug this in, this just kind of sits somewhere on a counter like that, because you're not going to be able to stick this on top of the bowl because that's in the freezer. And if you have it out of the freezer to charge the thing, then it's not getting frozen. So this kind of lays around somewhere, which is pretty awkward. I was kind of thinking maybe it would have been a better idea to put that on the side, and then at least you'd be able to maybe set it upside down and plug it in like that or something like that. Kind of a weird oversight, and it is a little bit annoying, but not really a deal breaker or anything. Just something bizarre that I thought I'd point out for you. Here's the freezer bowl all frozen up, and you'll see that this is not very big. In fact, the entire capacity for this machine is 210 milliliters, which basically is about 3/4 of a cup. So not big at all. You might get maybe 2 scoops out of this. I mean, that looks like there's a little bit of space in there, but you have to remember the motor here sits on top, so all that space the blade is taken up in, that takes away from your capacity on this. So really this is a super duper personal ice cream maker. One thing I'll note really quick is this has been in the freezer one time, and I'm not sure if you can see this, but if you look at this, you can see this low spot and then a high spot up here. This sort of warped a little bit during freezing. There's a big indentation right here, And this was all nice and flat whenever I put it in there. So this thing changed shape in the freezer a little bit on the first freeze. And that's just a little bit alarming to say the least. So what we're gonna do is run a quick test and see what our ice cream comes out looking like. So we've got our frozen bowl there. If you look into the bowl here, you can see a max fill line. That's right at the 210 milliliter mark. And you can see, like I mentioned before, that is way far down there. So this isn't the capacity up here. That's the capacity down there. So another thing to think about. I've already mixed up an ice cream base, so we're gonna pour that into this machine right to that max fill line. It's a tiny bit below it, but you know what? That's fine. Now we'll throw on our spacer, stick on our drive motor, make sure that's sitting in there properly, and we'll go ahead and start her up. Now we can start the timer and see how long this takes. I really don't expect this to take all that long because this is a very, very small container, so I'll be surprised if this takes any longer than maybe 15 minutes. As this ice cream is getting closer to being done, you can really hear that motor struggling to turn the paddle. Hopefully it'll auto shut off here any second. Hey, by the way, if this is your first time here and you want to learn some cool new recipes, get some great cooking tips and tricks and all sorts of other kitchen related things, then start now by subscribing to the channel and clicking the notification bell so you never miss a thing. If you look really close, you can see the motor starting to tilt and rock on top of this spacer as that ice cream gets thicker. So that's a little bit hoopty, I guess. Alright, it just beeped at me and shut off, and we are right at about 10 minutes here. So that was pretty quick, but then again, this is a super small container. Let's check out the result. Alright. Whoa. Well, the paddle's still stuck down in there, but at least we got the drive unit out, so that's a positive, and that's stuck down in there, so we're just gonna eat around it. But checking this out, that's actually pretty decent texture on this ice cream. So this is pretty soft, but you also have to keep in mind that the paddle still has to be able to turn. So this is about as thick as you're gonna be able to get on something like that. But it really does look pretty good. And it's got pretty nice texture to it too. It's actually got really nice texture. Try to get the paddle out of there without making a big mess, just so you can see exactly how much we're getting. It looks like we're getting just about one big scoop's worth. The slats on this paddle here are really close together, so really kind of hard to get all this out. That's about as good as we're getting. It's about one large scoop worth of ice cream in here, and that's about all you're gonna get. But you know what? It did do a pretty nice job. It's pretty thick, because as it sits here, it's freezing it up even further and really firming that up. So the results, not bad at all, actually pretty good. So the Cocinaire Krush works really well, but to be totally honest, I'm at a little bit of a loss trying to figure out exactly who this is for. It's a portable ice cream maker, which is fine and all, but there's no option to plug it in. So that tells me they're thinking about using this in an area where you can't plug it in. So if that's the case, I don't know how you keep the freezer bowl frozen getting it out to where you're gonna get it to. In addition to that, you gotta think about your ingredients. How are you transporting those? What are you bringing them in? They're gonna have to be in there separately. They can't go in the freezer bowl because they're gonna be frozen solid by the time you get where you're going, unless of course it's already melted by then. The fact that you don't have the option to just go ahead and plug the thing in and use it that way is a little bit mystifying to me, because if you could, I would think that that would be a great option for something like an RV. But instead you have to deal with the battery and make sure it's always charged up, and you'll have to get yourself an adapter if you want to plug that in. Otherwise you're going to have to charge it through a USB port, which is typically pretty slow. Another weird thing about this is the way the paddle here connects to the motor. It just kind of slides on like this, but there's not really a whole lot of pressure holding it on here. You can see there's a couple of little rubber grommets here that are supposed to kind of grab onto it, but really it's just barely on there. And a couple of times it just sort of fell off into the bowl while I was trying to put this in. I thought I wasn't putting it on there hard enough and I was trying to jam it in there further, but not really. So I thought that was a little bit weird. It didn't really affect the way it functions, because once this is on here and it's down in the bowl, the bottom of the paddle is almost touching the bottom, so it can't really go anywhere anyway. So probably more of a moot point. After we finished making that one scoop of ice cream, you can hear that this has really melted quite a bit already. It's still super duper cold, but I really don't think you can do maybe more than 3 back-to-back ice creams before this has to go back into the freezer. Also, remember what I showed you before about the bulge on the bottom here? Well, as this has warmed back up again, you can see that that bulge has gone away. So the plot thickens. So what do we think about the Cocinaire Krush? I'm having a little bit of a hard time figuring out where this is really going to be useful, unless you want to keep it in your RV or someplace else that you're really restricted in space. Otherwise, I think you're giving up way too much on capacity and cost. For me personally, I would probably just save that money and put it towards something like a Ninja Creami. If you want a little more information about the Cocinaire Krush, we do have an Amazon affiliate link down in the description of the video. We do make a small commission when people buy stuff off those links, but it doesn't affect the price that you pay, 1 penny. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about Joe's Phenomenal, you can watch a couple more of our videos, or you can check us out online at joesphenomenal.com. I thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your day to watch this video. It really means a lot to me, and I can't wait to see you back again here really soon. So until that time, I'm Joe, and I hope you have a phenomenal day. Take it easy.